The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to the TowerCoverage.com monthly webinar. Basically what we're going to cover today is the basics of tower coverage, but we also have some new features since the last time that we had a webinar. We'll start out by going over what is TowerCoverage.com. What Tower Coverage is a website that allows you to add your tower locations to your account and then plot out coverages on these tower locations. Will generate a heat map so that way you can see areas that you can get coverage and areas that you can't. It also allows you to collect end user data using our website integration via iframe or using one of our many APIs. Once you sign up for tower coverage, it's very simple to register. We have a nice, easy to use registration form. You can sign up for a 14-day or a 2-day trial. Our 2-day trial doesn't require any billing information. The 14-day trial does. But once you have signed up and verified your email, you'll log in using the email address that you provided on the registration, and it'll take you to your stats page. Once you're at your stats page, you're going to want to make sure that in your account settings that you start here and make sure that everything is accurate. You can add add different users to your account. There's all different types of there's 3 different types of users. You have an admin, an input, and a read-only user. If you add an admin user, make sure it is somebody that you want to have access to all aspects of your account. They will be able to change any and all of your settings to include delete your data. And to remove an admin once you add them, you do have to contact support at towercoverage.com or give us a call to let us know that you would like to make a change to one of the admins and take them to an input user. When you're setting up different users, one of the really nice things is if you set up like a sales team user, there is the option to set what start page that they land on. So for your sales team, if you want to have it to where they start out as soon as they log in, it starts them out on the multi-coverage or multi-map that you would like them to put end user data into. You can set them to that one, so anytime they log in, they're already there. In your company profile, one of the things that we have recently added, anytime you update your company profile, so if you put in a change your address, it will actually try to geocode the address that you input. And the nice thing about this is that geocode Latin long that we get from the address that you put in, whenever you start putting in a new tower site, it will start the map out wherever your business location is. So that way it makes it to where when you actually start creating your coverages or start inputting your towers, it allows you to be able to move the map and just start and click the pin wherever your tower location is. When you're putting in your sites, there's many different ways to input sites. You can, like I said, you can click the map to set your site location. You can search for the address up here in the top, and it will automatically update it. You can do decimal, latitude, and longitude. Make sure you don't put in any special characters. It won't let you type them. So if you try to paste them in, you could end up having an error on your site. You can put DMS, latitude and longitude. Whenever you put in the DMS latitude and longitude, it'll also automatically convert it to the decimal degree lat long that we need to be able to do your sites. Or the final way that you can add your sites is you can do them via our CSV import. There is a download right here. It allows you to download the template to be able to put in all your tower locations via CSV and just upload them all at once. On the upload, there are default values. There's the CSV won't convert it, so you do have to make sure that you put in a site name. The latitude and longitude have to be in decimal degrees. The description and group are not required, and the height is required to be in meters. Once you've filled out the template, you simply save it as a CSV. You click Choose File and select your file and hit Import, and it'll upload all of your tower locations into your account. Once you have all of your tower sites in, then you're going to want to make sure that you go and adjust land cover settings accordingly for your area. In your land cover settings, we have a standard land cover. As you can see, you can create many different land cover types. It's very simple to do. All you have to do is hit Add New, give it a name, and it will appear in this drop down here. What this allows you to do is use different land cover types for different areas of your network, or assign a different land cover type for the different frequencies. So that way you can adjust for RF penetration through the clutter data. And these densities are a 0 to 10,000%. So as you can see, this one here is set to a maximum. So this is basically the same thing as putting up an impenetrable wall on a coverage area. So you can create, like I said, you can create as many as you want. There's no limit on how many you can create, but you can make all different kinds for different areas or different frequencies, however you choose to do it. Once you have all of your land cover settings in, excuse me, you're able to then start by creating coverages. You can do several different ways. You can create a radio system first if you like. In your account, you can create different radio systems for different types of systems that you use throughout your network. Basically, if you have a common build, same radio, same antenna, that type thing, the same type of customer installs throughout your network, the easiest way to do it is to create a radio system. A radio system, whenever you create it, all of these values are essentially the same thing that you're going to see on an individual coverage. But what it allows you to do is basically make a cookie cutter and apply it throughout your network. But once you have your radio systems, then you can go and create a new coverage. As you can see, all of the tower sites that are in the account will be populated in your site selector. You simply select your tower site. Whatever you set the height to on the tower site, it's going to automatically set that when you're creating a coverage. But for instance, if you're, in this case, the tower is 60 meters tall, but we only actually installed at 55 meters up the tower. So you don't have to use the default height. You can change it to whatever you wish. Your RX threshold, we recommend that whatever the minimum signal that you require to be able to do an install. So if you set this to a neg 70, the only thing that's going to show up as a coverable area is anything that is a neg 70 or better. So if you don't want to install anybody that's any worse than a neg 68, then that's what you would put here. So that way you don't see areas that as coverage that you actually wouldn't install on. Your required reliability percentage, this is to add or subtract statistical loss to your coverage area, or loss per distance as well. So basically the the more loss that you want to add, the higher you put this up. And this can be used to compensate basically for like a fudge factor. So if you create your coverages and you see that all of your path analysis or end user submissions are coming back and tower coverage is projecting a that they're all 10 dB hotter than what you're actually seeing in the field, you can come in here and you can turn this required reliability percentage up. If tower coverage is projecting them weaker than what you're seeing in the field, then you would turn it down. It's a way to adjust, so that way you know when you get your end user submissions and you do your path analysis that you're getting an accurate projected signal. Your strong signal margin is simply the threshold where the coverage displays the strong signal color or the weak signal color. As you can see, as we move this slider, these values over here change. So that way you can see that if we set it to 5, the difference between whatever the threshold, your RX threshold is the top end of it. And then 5 dB away will be where it changes. So from here to here, that's where it changes. So anything that is hotter than a neg 63 is going to display in green, and anything that is weaker is going to display in red, and anything greater than a neg 68 will not display coverage at all. As you can see on the top here, here's our radio systems that we created. We can apply those. This is how you can basically apply your cookie cutter across your network. It updates all the settings from the radio system. Whenever you're naming your coverages, we do suggest that you give some kind of name that identifies what the coverage is. So if this is for Tower A, 5 gig north. So basically what we do is we know that it's on Tower A, it's the 5 gigahertz north sector. If you have multiple different setups like this, you could do 120 degree north sector. You know, just to make sure that way when you're looking at your list, you don't have to shuffle through your coverages to find out which one you're trying to adjust. So we'll put a 120 sector on this. We'll set our frequency. The exact center frequency is not required. Basically, the only thing that this is used for is for our frequency coordination feature on the multi-coverage. Your antenna gain does need to be a whole number value. So if the antenna you're using is 17.8, you will need to put in a whole number value. It will round it for you if you do try to put in a decimal. But excuse me. But the antenna pattern file that are listed here, we have many of them in there. You can also upload your own via your account menu. So if you go here, you can upload a radiomobile.ant file. So it has to be radio mobile compatible. Basically what that is, it has to have 720 rows, and it does expect that azimuth 0 and elevation 0 match, and also azimuth 180 and elevation negative 180 match, because to a radio mobile file, they're essentially the same point in space. But you can upload any pattern that you wish if it's not in our list here, and you're able to use it on your tower coverage account. But with an antenna file, the antenna file, no matter what the gain of your antenna is, that's why we have the generics in here, because the actual pattern is just essentially that. It's a pattern, and then it is calculated using the gain. Excuse me, the gain and the loss of the actual settings to actually calculate the coverage. Your beam width filter, this is not the advertised beam width. So if the sector you're using is a 120 degree advertised sector, basically anytime you do a propagation with that sector, there's going to be side lobes. If you would like your end user submissions and your data to return, if you would like your data to return results that are in the side lobes of the antenna, then you are going to need to add to the actual advertised beam width. So that way it will actually return those results in a path analysis, because if you set it to 120, if they are even 1 degree outside the beam width, it's going to say that they're not within the coverage, even though their projected signal would be good. So for this case, on a 120 sector, if we set this to like 135, it's going to add to both sides, so that way it'll actually allow for the results to return. Your antenna azimuth, this is magnetic azimuth. You do need to use a whole number value. If you're not sure what it is, you can actually just type in whatever azimuth you think it is, and we have a little compass over here that actually will show you and point to the direction that it's going to be pointing. On your antenna tilt, positive is for mechanical tilt only. If you use an antenna pattern, the electrical tilt is already calculated. If it's down tilt, you have to put a negative value. So -2 would be 2-degree down tilt. Your TX power is the power setting of your radio. Keep in mind that all of these settings are the actual settings, not not EIRP. This is used to calculate that. So you will want to put values in here. If you put your EIRP up here and then set this to 0, it's going to calculate it and you're going to get inaccuracy. Your line loss, for the most part, most systems don't have much line loss. You can put 0 or 0.5 unless you're actually using cable runs like LMR. And if you are using stuff like that, you will want to look at the manufacturer's spec and calculate what the loss per foot and how much cable you're using, and calculate that value and put it in there. On the RX settings, this is the client install settings. So whatever the average height of the houses around this sector, if they're 1-story houses, you'll put 3 or 4 meters. If they're 2, 3-story houses, you'll put 6, 10 meters, whatever the situation is for the area. Your client antenna gain, we suggest that whatever the largest antenna or client CPE that you're going to install off of this sector is what you put in here, because that way you get a coverage that shows you everybody that you're able to get. But if you get out there and the signal is way hot, you know that you can always use a smaller antenna, but you didn't have a bigger one if you put the small antenna values in here. So then your EUS submissions are going to return and say you can't get service to this customer because your client average antenna gain you set to whatever your smallest one was instead of your largest. RX line loss, same situation as for the TX. If you're using cable runs, then from your radio to your antenna, you're going to want to put something in there, calculate that loss and put that in there. On the rendering quality, whenever you're just trying to get your coverages set up and you're trying to hone them in and test with them to find out if they're accurate, if you do them on low resolution, it will process the fastest. And then once everything is set up good and all your path analysis and and sites and stuff are all configured and you're getting good results, then you can actually come back in and change this to very high resolution or high, and then let them all just process, and then you get a cleaner, crisper map. Your opacity is literally just how light or dark the coverage displays. Once you put your coverages into a multi-map, the default colors are going to go to a light green and a dark green, and the opacity is going to be set for you, and then the multi-map has a slider to move it up and down. So basically all 3 of these settings here they're specific to a single coverage. They do not apply to a multi-map. And then your maximum range is how far you want to do installs from. We do suggest that you set the max range below 30 kilometers. A coverage will not propagate outside of 30 kilometers. It will stop. So even if you set this up all the way at 70 kilometers, all that does is allows end user submissions to be submitted, or a path analysis to be submitted outside of that range. Even though the coverage stops, if you have all your power settings up extremely high, the EUS and path analysis will still come with a projected signal. You just will not get a heat map past 30 kilometers. So once we create our coverage and we go around and we create all of our coverages around our tower, then we can take those coverages and we can put them into a multi-map. But before we do that, we'll come in here and we'll look at one of the other ones. So with the easiest way to create all of your sectors around your tower is basically once you create the first one, you can come in here and test and see if the coverage is right. So if I have a customer at this location, I can click on this location. I have the option of saving or don't saving. If I want to be able to make minor adjustments to this, like antenna height, antenna gain, anything like that, I would want to save it. So basically, you could give it a link name. So if we give this, this is Bob's house, and you could put their address or whatever you want for the site name. Basically, what this is going to do, it's going to save a link inside of your links list, and it's going to save whatever you put in the site. It's going to add a site for that. So the first thing it's going to do is going to pop up a path analysis, and essentially what it does is gives you the point-to-point version of this location. As you can see, this has a good signal of neg 66.9. If terrain or land cover is an issue, if this were a bad location, the line would be red and it would give you a suggested height. Basically, if it fails, it will calculate over and over again, increasing a little by little until the projected signal is acceptable according to your RX threshold. If there is something in the way, you can see that these colors on the horizon view directly correlate with the colors that you've seen in your land cover settings. If something is in the way, you can simply move your slider so that way the little orange dot moves and you can actually see what is actually in the way. It allows you, if it shows that there's light blue or red, which is your urban buildup low and high, you can move that over to to that specific spot, zoom in, and see if it actually is in the way. The satellite imagery only knows whether it's low urban or high urban, and it uses the footprint of the building to determine whether it's low or high. So there are situations where a very large building, if it has a huge footprint, then it will classify that as high urban, even though it's just a one-story building. It happens to just be really big. So that allows you to be able to actually use the satellite view and see if it would actually be in the way or not. But since we created a link out of that, we can open up our links. And as you can see, it shows the exact same thing as the path analysis did, but the difference is now, if this were a bad link, we would be able to then say, okay, well, at Bob's house, he's not actually, he's not actually at 6 meters like all of our other customers off this tower. He's actually at 15, and it will update automatically, and it'll show you what the new projected signal would be. Or if you turn the power down, anything you want to adjust, that this allows you to make slight adjustments without actually having to change your entire coverage to be able to test different scenarios for this customer to the tower. But as I said, once you actually have honed in all of your coverages and everything, and you've got this dialed in to where all of the locations that you have installed, you're getting, plus or minus a couple dB for projected signal. Excuse me. The easiest way at that point is either if you didn't create a radio system to make this coverage, we have a little button up here where you can do it the other direction and turn this coverage into a radio system. So then all you have to do is, now you have a radio system that has all of the settings that coverage had. As you can see, the colors are the same, everything is the same, the land cover type, everything. And then the next thing you can do to create all the way around your tower is, this one is our 15 degree. So if we were to want to be putting 4 sectors up, then we could, excuse me, we could give it a new name, and we could say this one is at 150 degrees, and it'll create that coverage for you. And then all you have to do once it's done processing is open this coverage up and change the azimuth to whatever the actual is, and hit submit, and then now you have 2 coverages that are identical, pointing in different directions. And then once you have all of your coverages for the tower or for your entire network, you can come in here, and it allows you to then, you can search and narrow it down by either whatever the coverage name is. You can search by whatever you type in up here. It's going to narrow it down. It will search all these fields to find what you're looking for. So you can actually just, even if you wanted to type in whatever the frequency is, it's going to give you all of those, whatever you want to do. Or you can just hit check all and add selected. Or if you didn't mean to add some of them, you can just take them back out. It's very, very simple and easy to use. So for this situation, we're just going to add some of these together. Okay, and then in the settings over here on the right, you have place pins on sites. So what this does is actually puts a pin where the tower location is. And as you remember from the creating the sites, there's a description and group field, the name of the tower, the height of the tower. You can put notes in the actual tower site. And by placing pins on your sites, it allows you to be able to click on the pin and whatever the details of that tower location are. So you could put whatever the minimum and maximum speeds provided by that tower, or whatever the lock combination for the gate, whatever you want to do. The nice thing about this is that whenever you integrate into this multi-coverage into your website, the pins do not display to your customers. So this is for internal use only. The EUS data collection form, this is the website integration. What this does is, if you turn this on and use the iframe from this multi-map and put it on your website, it will display the end user data form for your customers to be able to fill out. If you leave this off and take the iframe and put it on your website, it will display the actual live map from your account on your website. These iframes are updated twice a day. So anytime you make a change to your tower coverage multi-map, your website will automatically update for you twice a day. Like I said, it does only update twice a day, so it won't be instantaneously, but you don't have to do anything. It will automatically take care of itself. The display fiber on map is to display our fiber coverages. We're going to go over those here in just a few minutes. But that makes it to where if you do a non-data collection form, it will also show the polygons of your fiber coverage. And make map publicly viewable. This is to display your multi-coverage on TowerCoverage.com's public map. On our public map, all of our customers that wish to display their map publicly, it does a couple different things. It gives, if somebody is looking for internet service and stumbles across tower coverage, they're actually able to see that you have coverage in their area. And also, we have a find a provider form, which is the exact same thing as the EUS data collection form. What this form does, though, is if we get a submission to our find a provider, if they are within range of any of your coverages, then we will take their data and send it to you via email. You'll get an email saying, hey, somebody is in your area is looking to get service. So you will have all their contact information, so your sales team can give them a call and be like, hey, you looked at tower coverage, they told us you're looking for internet. Set your zoom level. By default, it's at a reasonable distance away. You can always move it in further. If you take it to the right, it's going to be closer, all the way down to almost street view. If you take it all the way to the left, it's going to be a view from you'll be able to see the entire planet. So we put it at default kind of in the middle, but once you're in your multi-coverage, you can actually adjust this later on as well. So you don't have to set it when you create it. You can, but you can adjust it later on. Once we have all of this done, we can create that. And then the next thing we'll do is we're going to put in our fiber coverages. Once we put in our fiber coverages, we can start adding them to our multi-map too. As I said before, your account, your company profile will use the lat and long of your company, and the map will start out wherever the lat and long of your company profile is. If you know what the address of your starting point for your fiber or cable run is, you can type it in here, or you can just simply click on the map for the first one. With the fiber coverages, you can do up to 25 points or 70 kilometers long. So what you can do is, say we have a run of fiber running up this road, so we can follow all the way up this road. And you can zoom in and get very detailed with it if you like. That the good thing about doing that is that what this is going to do is, once we create our line, we're going to give it a name, and then we're going to specify the distance that we would like to see results if the customer is within a certain range. So if we want to any customer that, or potential customer that's 100 meters away from this line, we want to be notified that they're within the distance. It will automatically convert it to feet. You can put it in meters or feet, whichever you prefer. The strand count is just with that. It's just a way of tracking things. You can pick your color for the same thing with a single coverage. The RF coverage is the same thing on the fiber coverages. You can set them to whatever color you wish, but when they go to a multi-map, they will default to a blue with an orange outline on them. You can put notes in here just for tracking purposes, whatever you like to do. Select what mode it is, whether it's transport or distribution purpose. And basically all these are just for your knowing, and so that way it doesn't matter who needs to know about it. They can come to your tower coverage account and find out about that fiber run. As you can see, the fiber coverages process almost instantaneously. They don't take a lot of processing time to create the polygons for it. But once you have created it, you can see that now we have a polygon around that line that we created, which allows us then to go into our multi-map. And here's our multi-map that we made, and it's got our RF coverages in it. You can remove any of the coverages the same way as when we were creating the multi-map. You can remove any of them just by clicking on the X here, or you can pop this open, and you'll see that it's essentially the same window as when we were creating it. But we just hit Add Selected, and once we click Update, it will add that fiber coverage into this multi-map. And we'll open this one just for time's sake. And as you can see, we have several fiber coverages in here. Some of them are small, some of them are big. Here's our tower pins. So we elected to place pins on site. So now we can click on our tower pin, and it'll tell us whatever the details of the site for that site is. Right here's your zoom level. As I explained, if you go all the way to the left, it's way out. If you go all the way in, it's extremely in. So that's why we set it to a reasonable level. Excuse me. You can test the website integration. As you can see, the EUS data collection form is turned on this one. So whenever we click the test, it's going to pop up the end user form. When your customers fill this out, the data collection form, it's going to give them some options. So as they fill this out, and I'll show you here in just a second. So you'll see that it geocodes the address that they put in, and there's a message that pops up. So that way you can put a message in here to tell them to move the pin. By default, it says please move the pin to your accurate location. But in your EUS settings, you can actually come in here and change whatever the message you want them to see. You can excuse me, you can set how it reacts. You can display the coverage map zoomed in on their location. You can display only the message, or you can redirect them to a different page on your website. When you're putting this in, remember that it does have to be a one paragraph simple message. It does not allow return characters or special characters. The same thing with the movable pin text. You can add who receives your end user submission. It doesn't matter if it's a group, whoever you want to get it. So if your sales team needs to get it, you can just put the group in there and send it to all of them. Or you can add up to 5 by clicking the add email address and add up to 5 emails. Your weekly EUS submission report is so that way you can get a report of all end user submissions that have come in the last week. And then your EUS iframe text. This does not change what is required in the field. It only changes what the text actually says. So if we were to type whatever we type in here, it's just going to change that text. It's still whenever you go and look at your data collection inside your TowerCoverage account, even if you change this first name field to literally gibberish, it's going to show up in your TowerCoverage account under the first name column. So it's still the same data is stored in the same place. But as I was showing you, oops, click too fast. There we go. So if you change that and tell them to move the pin to their exact location, they can put the pin anywhere they want. And then at that point, it will ignore the address, and it will use the GPS latitude and longitude to geocode and process the submission. Here's the thank you message. As you can see, in our settings, we chose to display the coverage map zoomed in on their location. So if they zoom out, they can see the coverage, and they can also see their location, and they can see the message that you provided for them. And then once it's in there, as you can see, it's right here. We did our submission. So from that multi-coverage, it only lands in within the beam width of one of the sectors. So if we go back, and I believe this one, you'll see this is a different one, different location, different map, but it lands within the beam width of 2 sectors. So what you're going to see is the location was not included in any of the fiber maps, but it does have a possible signal of an X65 to the 360 testing coverage. And it has a marginal signal of neg 74. Marginal means it is plus or minus 2 dB of whatever your RX threshold is. So if your RX threshold is a neg 72 and this one has a neg 74, it's going to show up as marginal. You can then change your pin status. You can create as many pins as you like from your EUS settings. There are all kinds of different custom pins. We can show you those too. You can add as many custom pins as you like. You can remove them, or you can create new ones, and whatever you want to do, you can see it shows up. You can use these pins it allows you to be able to to mark different end user submissions. Oops. And you can mark them accordingly to whatever they are, whatever reason you want to use them for. So if we go and we grab one of them that doesn't have a signal. So for example, this one here, it is not within the beam width of any of our coverages. Now that may maybe because they're actually outside the beam width, or because you set your beam width filter to whatever the actual advertised is. They could possibly have signal, but because our beam width filter was too low, and as you can see right here with our message, that if you're not sure that whether you set those correctly, you know, go back and check, turn up your beam width a little bit, put in their location, and do a path analysis. Then you can see if they're actually should be getting signal, but you just have your beam width too low. But for this one is not serviceable. We're going to turn them to no service, and it automatically updates. You can edit and reprocess. You can move the pin if they call and say, oh, well, that's not my actual location. You can come in here and you can move the pin for them and hit save and reprocess as well, and it will update that EUS submission for you. Next thing you do once you have started to collect end user data, you want to make sure that you keep these up to date. The reason that you want to make sure that they're up to date is because many reasons. One, on your multi-coverage, you can view all of your end user data on your map. This makes it very easy. As I explained before, if you set your sales team up to where they automatically come to this map, whenever they get there in the morning, they can literally come to TowerCoverage, log in, it automatically sends them to the map. They hit all EUS data, and if you keep your collected data up to date, the only yellow pins they're going to see are the ones that came in overnight or over the weekend. That allows you to be able to visually see it like instantly without having to try and figure out, well, when did that one come in, and have we talked to this one yet? Your sales team can come in here, oh, there's a yellow pin, click view details, it opens it up. They can give them a call. If it's got good signal, give them a call, schedule an install, come back in here, and then we can set them to one of our custom pins, or we can just set them as serviceable. Put some notes in here. That makes it to where then when your install team comes in, they can essentially do the exact same thing. They can come to the multi-map. They can hit whoever schedules all the where your installers are going for the day and stuff like that. They can come in and they can look for one of the serviceable pins or whichever pin that you decide to use. If it happens to be this one, it'll sit here and give you their name, phone number, what their address is, what the best possible signal on the end user submission was. So that allows them to quickly and easily schedule installs for the day before the installers actually show up. So they're just ready to go already. Another valuable thing on the multi-map is if you're looking to install a new access point, you can click our ASR Tower feature. As you can see, it'll start populating. What it does is it looks at the FCC ASR database. Any tower in your area that's registered with the FCC, it's going to put an icon to show you that there's a tower there. You can click on that and click on the link inside that bubble, and it'll take you to the FCC website. It'll let you know who the owner is. It'll let you know what their contact information is, GPS, address, everything you want to know about that tower. And then also, much like the EUS submission, it also has the capability of doing a path analysis. So if your sales team's here, they could type in an address, it'll drop the green pin for them, or they can click on the map where it is, or they can type their address in right here, and it will drop this green pin, and they hit path analysis, and it will bring up the 6 best possible links to that customer's location. Obviously, and if they're looking at the map, they're going to be able to see. Nope, I didn't open a fiber coverage map. If they're looking at a map that has fiber coverages on them, they're obviously already going to be able to see that, but it still lets you know the name of which one that they're actually in. So we'll go back over here so that way we have multiples. So as you can see in this example here, it's within the beam width and within the range of 2 of your sectors on this tower. But it is a red line because it's neg 81 to one and a neg 81.7 to the other. But because of our land cover settings, you can see that the obstruction starts approximately right there. And you can do the same thing. So it's this cluster of trees is where the actual problem is. You can see right here is a chunk of trees, which is here, and the other big chunk, which is this big chunk right here. But tower coverage will tell you that if they can get 20 meters in the air, then they could actually get signal. So it's very powerful and very quick tool to be able to find out if customers can be installed or not. You can add. We have several different additional features in here. You can use your frequency usage. I don't remember what I set this coverage to. But if you don't have any exact center frequencies put in for these coverages, which these I don't, it won't show anything up. But if you do, it'll display those for you. Whatever each center frequency will display in a different color. So that way you can tell if you're overlapping with yourself. All of your links, you can put them into a link group. You can determine which whatever color you want to label them in. So like all your backbone towers, you can put in red. All your point to points, you could do green. However you wish to use it. But that allows you to visually view all of your point to point stuff, your backbone, everything from your multi-map. Excuse me. You can change to the different types of map, and you can also view your current weather from your multi-coverage as well. And then there's a couple other features if you decide that you need to make a bulk change and you don't want to sit there and do it one by one. We do have a bulk update feature. You can check up to 100 at a time and hit update checked. It'll give you a thumbnail of all of the coverages that you selected. If you say, oops, I didn't mean to do that one, you just check it off and get it out of there. So now we're only going to update these. And you can update all or none of the fields if you simply just want to reprocess them. If you made a change to your land cover settings and you want to apply the new land cover settings to all these coverages, you can literally just come into the bulk update, hit update coverage, and hit yes. And it'll process, and then you see they all go into queue, and they all process at the same time. And then once you have kept up with all of your end user data, all your pin statuses are consistently updated. You start, you're running low on customer inquiries. You want to try and throw out a new tower. You don't quite know where. You can come into your tower coverage account, click on your advanced settings. Say show me all my no-goes, hit save. We'll just give it a random name. And even if we just leave all this blank, or you can search for all the no-goes within a specified distance of one of your towers, however you wish to do it. We hit search and see now we have all the no-goes that we just did just the no-goes, so it showed all of them. And then once you have a saved search, it shows up in your saved searches. This one here is the one we just did. So basically every time you log into tower coverage, anytime you view one of these saved searches, it will give you the results of that saved search at the time that you view it. So you don't have to keep creating one. You can create a serviceable, a no service, a installed, whatever you wish to do. So basically you'd be able to do all of your installed customers or all of your no-goes or whatever you like. And that allows you to select that save search and then download it. And it will only download the ones that are currently being viewed. And then the next thing, once you have your saved searches, you can use our best tower feature. Using the best tower feature, you come in here, you select the save search that you're wanting to find a tower location for. You tell it create, you give it a name, you decide whether the land cover is to be basically if you select land cover seen as penetration, it will use your standard land cover settings, whatever your standard land cover is, or as solid obstruction, it will take your land cover heights and turn all of them up to max, or you can remove it altogether, whichever you choose. Give it also whatever the common settings that you plan on using. If you're going to be building a tower, you can set your whatever the height of the tower that you're going to be building, and you tell it to create. Once it does that, you'll see that it's in processing. These do take several minutes. They can take anywhere up to 15 minutes. Generally, it only takes them a few minutes, depending on how many customer submissions you submitted to it. But once it's done, it will give you a heat map. What this heat map does is it does a reverse path analysis from all those customer locations. In this example, there was 28 records submitted to it. And you can see the settings that we chose. And then you can look at this heat map and it will show you the hotter the color, the more of the potential customers were reached. The colder the color or no color means that none of them could be reached. Then allows you to do a couple different things from there. You can either click on the map in one of those hotspots. You can get it gives you latitude and longitude and whatever the address is at that location. So that way you can take a drive and go out there and see if there'd be a way for you to build a tower there. Or as you can see, the ASR data starts populating on this map as well. So you can simply pick one of the hotspots and go to the registration for that tower and give them a call. Then you know that as long as that tower, you're able to meet the values that you put in for testing on that tower location, you know that all of those 28 customers, most if not all of them, it's a little bit lighter, so it's probably not quite all of them, but most of them you would be able to download that CSV of the 28 customers that was submitted there, and you could give them a call, be like, hey, we're going to put up a tower, are you still interested? Or the other option that you can do is you can actually select those customers, and once you actually put the tower up, add the coverages, put them in your multi-map, you can simply select reprocess. And what this does is it takes all of those submissions that from your save search, you select an end user data collection map that you added the coverages to, and you tell it to process, and it will reprocess it. And in that option, whenever we do that, if we tell it to send email, you'll get a new end user submission for that customer, and it will account for any new coverages that have been added since that submission came through. And then another option you have is to, if you don't want to do it via your map, another simple thing is just to watch this panel over here. Anytime a end user submission is updated, it will remove it from here. So if we, as you can see, that one was on the 25th. So if we come in here and we change the pin status on it, you can see that it went away. It will order them in the order that they came in from top to bottom. So the most recent ones are going to be at the top. If you go through here and you update all of these, it will tell you there's no new entries. And then also all of your end user data is tracked right here on your stats page. You can hover over it and see how many you received for each month for the last 12 months, and it'll also give you one day by day for the last 30 days. Or you can see we have one submission today, which is the one that we did, and it'll give you a count for today. From your dashboard, you can keep track of pretty much your entire account. All of your recent changes, you can simply click on them if you wish to get to them. You don't have to open up any of the lists to get to them. You can do it right from your dashboard. You can see how many coverages you have left, and you can see how many API calls you've used from your account as well. The API calls do reset on the first of every month. No matter what your subscription date is, they will reset at midnight on the first. So however many you have available on your account, you can count on them resetting on the first. The API calls, as you can see, we showed you the iframe version of the EUS submission form. We also do have an API version. So depending on how much of the API you're wanting to use, would determine what tier you would need to be. The number of APIs available are determined by your tier. As you've seen, whenever we did the bulk reprocess, it does use API calls for each one that is submitted to the bulk reprocess, and also the bulk update. It will use one API call per coverage that is submitted to it. And then we also have the pre-qualification API and our EUS API. This will act identically the same as the EUS iframe version of this. The iframe version, though, cannot be modified with the exception of the text that the titles of each one says. This one can be modified however you like. This does not work very well with some like a Wix site or something like that. It doesn't, because it's raw code with jQuery and scripts in it. You may have to modify it if you're doing a site such as those. If you have a web developer that your sites are done, by an actual developer, you can literally put in a Google Map key, which you do have to have. You can get a free key that'll allow up to 2,500 requests per day. So it's not a big deal. The iframe, you don't have to have one because the iframe is actually stored on our server. This is stored on yours, and the geocoding will be called from you. So therefore, you have to have your own Google Map key. You can just go to console.developer.google.com, create a key, enable Google APIs, Google Maps, and JavaScripts. Copy the key, paste it in here, and then if you don't want to change any of the settings, you can change any or all of them if you like. You can change whatever the default colors and everything are. As you can see, that it reflects over here on the left hand side as to what it looks like. You can change them to whatever you want to. And this is not what you're limited to either. The really nice thing about this is that just because you select these options, once you put something in here for a key, you can select which map it submits to. You just click show code. You copy this and you paste it on your site. Now your web developer can come through here and can modify any of the styling, all of the styling, none of the styling, whatever they want to do. Do be careful whenever you're modifying things, though. If you go through here changing stuff like the inner workings of some of the code, it will not work. It will stop working because it does call those call everything very specifically. So this is not something that is, you can just copy it. If you just copy it directly and paste it directly, it'll work as the other one does. If you start modifying it too much, it will stop working. But with that, that's basically all of our basics covering for today. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the questions box so that way we can answer them. But we'll give a couple minutes for people to put in questions if they have any. But if not, I thank everybody for coming. By all means, if you have questions, please put them in We had somebody ask when the next webinar is. We do a webinar the final Thursday of every month. So let's see, the next one will be the 22nd of February will be the next one. The recorded webinar, we are recording this right now, so as soon as this one's over, it takes a little bit for it to convert, but it will be available on the wiki. If you go to your account and click on wiki, you'll go to all pages, and you can just type in webinar. And all of our webinars are recorded, and then we put them up here. The demo videos are at the top, but you'll see that there's all kinds of different ones. Some of them have bullet points. We have been adding a lot of stuff, so make sure you watch the most recent one, because with us adding features left and right, even our next webinar, we're going to have some more features that are coming. The multi-maps are going to process much faster, and we're actually adding a 360 plot to the new coverage creation. So basically, what you'll be able to do is, whenever you create a coverage, instead of having to go in and duplicate over and over again, you can actually create a single coverage and just tell it create 4 sectors, evenly space them around the tower, and use these settings, and it does all of them at once. All right. And with that, if nobody has any more questions that we haven't covered already, basically, anything that you guys need help with, shoot us an email, support@towercoverage.com. If you have any questions, you want us to look at stuff for you, you can't quite get it right, we'd be happy to answer your questions. Anything that you need to know, shoot us an email, support@towercoverage.com. We're here 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time as well, Monday through Friday. So if you want to give us a call, we'll talk to you as well. But like I said, any questions you have, we do have the wiki that is available. Whenever you first logged in your account, you've probably seen the tutorial. Tutorial updates, depending whatever page you're on, it will automatically update. It'll give you a little bit of information about any and all the fields. Oh, I do apologize. In web integration, it is also on the API. You can select whichever one of your billing systems that you use. Inside your VISP system, they will have a tower coverage integration section. You get the API key from in there, and the username and password for the push. And anytime you receive an end user submission, not only will you get the email that I showed you, and it'll add it to your data, it'll also take that data and push it into your billing system as well. All of our contact information can be found down here in the bottom right corner of your account menu as well. If you don't remember the email address, or you can't find the answer you're looking for in the tutorial or on the wiki, you can come down here, email us, or give us a call. But with that, if nobody has any more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And like I said, let us know if you need any help. We're here to help.